All right, the red light's on, G.
So what's up, guys? I guess this is the first episode of my our new podcast, Mic Cuddles. Just kind of taking a new adventure here, a new little route. Got into a little bit of commentary with fighting, and I really enjoyed it. So we're just trying to take a new little road, a new I guess pathway to see where we're going with all this. Give you guys a little insight on like a fighter's life, what we do, and just kind of talk and just kind of bullshit a little bit, right, Dave?
Yeah, we're definitely going to bullshit. It's going to be a lot of bullshit and then some realistic, real stuff, but mostly bullshit.
But mostly bullshit.
Oh my goodness, it's crazy. I like kind of from my end, it's so surreal in a way because it's, we talked about it so many times. The whole transition when I got more into just the fighting podcast side of it, when the Fight Bananas podcast multiple years ago, it's probably been like around 4 years ago. It was like, I remember it was a Tuesday afternoon. I reached out to Gillian. I'm like, hey, I'm going to kind of like do this and transition. I'm like, hey, you cool? You want to be on the first, you'll be like the first guest. And you're like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it. And it's been like 4 years later. And now to kind of see where we're at now, kind of your first podcast, it's like, it's pretty wild. It's pretty surreal.
I was honestly just thinking about that the other day, how like us even like having the idea of coming to a podcast now after thinking about, I was your first interview on your podcast, like just a couple years ago. I'm like, it's kind of coming full circle here.
I know, it's so wild. And like we can't divulge all the information yet, but it's to start a podcast and already have something in the works, like something really big in the works, maybe with 3 initials, so maybe 3 big letters that are involved with the, the fight game, and to kind of like take it to a super high level, like right away. It's like pretty, I don't want to say lucky, but it's like pretty like, wow, like this is going to be really cool. And yeah, it's exciting. It's the beginning of something new.
Oh yeah. Big things are in the works.
Big things. Yeah. 3 letters. I don't know. Maybe fight fans will know what they are. I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah, so like I definitely, and we talked about this off air on it and behind the scenes, like, hey, UFC London was amazing. It was such a cool show and the environment was awesome, but like, we're not going to like break down fights. Like, we're not going to go card to card.
Shout out Molly McCann real quick.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah. And like, that's what I want to do. Like, so you shout out to Meatball Molly, but like, you have awesome stories with Molly. Like you have like, not like just stories and stuff that only 10 or 12 females in the world have with fighting Molly and now becoming friends and all this stuff. So it's like, that's the stuff, that's the scoop and the information and the things that I think, people want to hear about. So, hey, dude, that was insane, right?
I was honestly, went on a little vacation this weekend, was down in the Keys, and I was having a couple of drinks and I was sitting there and I just open up Instagram and that's the first thing I see. And I just start jumping up and down, so excited for her. I'm like, that was absolutely amazing to see. Like you said, I'm good friends with Molly now after fighting her. We've had a couple of interactions where after my fight at UFC Boston, I lost against Macy Barber and she fought Diana Belbita that night. So she was sitting there partying already whenever I was getting back to the hotel. And she was like, come have a drink, Gillian. We've all been there. So I ended up just going and having a couple drinks with her. And she's one of the most genuine human beings. So to see good things happening for her, like that spinning back fist is like, you love to see it.
Yeah. And I talk about this all the time. One thing I like really, it's such a unique thing about like mixed martial arts with any other sport. Like, if you have people like baseball or basketball or football, they know who are like the best or like the superstars in a way. Like year after year, it's like the same guys. Like football, like Tom Brady has been the best for like 20 years. He's like 45 years old. He's still like the best. But especially in the UFC, like 1 year, like a 6-month thing, like Molly could become like the face of the female like division, the class. And it's just like 2 or 3 different incidents, fights, if it's a podcast or if it's just something, shit behind the scenes. Like we just saw Jorge Masvidal's attacking Colby Covington in the streets of Miami, like stuff like that, like takes off. And it's like, it's unbelievable how, you can be on a prelim, in January and November, you can be main eventing a pay-per-view. Like that's the fight game. It's unbelievable.
One moment can change your whole career. Like you look at Joaquin Buckley, he had that spinning back kick And like,
Yeah.
he just blew up overnight from that one single moment, that one single kick. It's like, it caught so much attention, and like, he just blew up.
And like, so when you go for a fight personally, almost, do you ever try to like capture that? Do you try to create that one moment, or is it like all that shit? It has to come organic. Like you can't force a moment.
I feel like it just has to come organic. But for me, it's like, it's also, I'm trying to, I guess, force the finish in a way. That's the only thing
Right.
we're trying to force, is I'm trying to not fight the whole 15 minutes and get in and out of there, because I feel like I should be able to do that with all these girls. And like, my coach's mindset, he's like, if you don't get a finish, it should be like, fuck, I just didn't have enough time. I was beating her up for 15 minutes, and like, she just like survived long enough. So it's like, that's my mindset going into a fight. It's just, we're looking for the finish. But it's like a spectacular moment like that. It's just, you can't really like plan it. You have to see the moment and just take it when it's there.
Yeah, and in MMA and just like life too, sometimes you don't know when these amazing moments personally will happen to you, or with a friendship's going to happen to you. And it's just like, sometimes you have to like jump, and it's like, holy crap, that was one of the best weekends ever. If it's going to the Keys, or if it's, hanging out at you just never really know when that kind of special moments will happen. So it's just, it's wild. Absolutely wild.
Oh yeah. And it's like, I feel like all these, like you say, you don't know when it's going to happen. And it's like all these feelings. It's like, that's what's really like making you human, being able to feel all these things. And it's like, I don't, there's nothing to really describe the way a fighting like feels. I don't know. It's just, it's almost like you're in a different world in there. Like in the cage, like nothing even feels normal. Like even the way you feel things, it's like when I get hit, I can be like, okay, that one hurt, but I don't feel it like, ouch, that actually hurt.
Right. It's like if you put your hand on a stove, it's like, oh, this burns. I feel pain when you get punched. So at Icon, I was at Icon this past weekend in Miami, Florida. Jorge Mazo is Icon on the amazing UFC streaming service. Oh my, UFC Fight Pass. They have this beautiful app. They do so much great content there at UFC Fight Pass. It's amazing. But so we're there, and Keith Richardson, Taylor Starlin's coach and really, really great friend, was in the co-main event, and he fought Hunter, who was from the UFC, Hunter Azure. I'm sorry, I fucked up your last name. I'm sorry, I apologize. But he clips him. Like, he clips Keith like early first round, almost mid first round. And it's like when you're there, you're like, holy shit. Like, it's such a, you feel the impact. Like, we're sitting cage side or whatever, and you feel it. And like, I talked to him afterwards. He's like, I don't even like remember it. Like, he goes, I know I got clipped. It dazed me. I had to like kind of readjust something for a couple seconds. I'm like, from afar, I'm watching. I'm like, you just got checked hooked the fuck out of the place. You know what I mean? Like, you just got rocked. And he's like, nah, like, it was just, for a second or two, it was a little bit foggy, messy, but it was just on to the next.
Yeah. Even when I got 9 stitches right across my nose when Tyla elbowed me in the face, Tyla Santos. She when she did it, I was like, okay, that one hurt. And then it was the last 10 seconds of the round, so I got up and I saw a drip of blood coming down my nose, and I was like, fuck, man. I'm like, I didn't know I was bleeding at all. Like, I had no idea. So the fact that I saw blood come down, it's like, it was a complete surprise to me that it was even there, that I had a huge gash right across my nose.
Holy shit. Dude, what do you think of Tyler getting the title shot with Valentina?
I think that's very interesting. Honestly, in the division currently, I feel like she is the person who has the best chance against Valentina.
Wow, okay.
I feel like she does pose the best threat, but I don't like, it's Valentina. Yeah. Valentina's just she makes very few mistakes, and that's her biggest thing, is like, she doesn't give you an opportunity to capitalize. She doesn't make the mistakes like, she doesn't do anything that's unnecessary. Everything is very calculated that she does. So it's I don't know if Tyla will be able to take it from her, but I feel like she's the best chance right now in the flyweight division.
And like, I don't know if you feel this at all, and it's just like, it's a gut thing from me. And I think Santos is really good in all of that nature. I think it's a tad early. I think it's like 1, maybe even 2 fights early. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you. I feel like I wish she maybe main evented a card against, a nice veteran, or maybe just another really good win. I just think it's like, it's a huge step up. I don't know. That's my feeling.
No, I agree with that 100%. I feel like it is a big step up, and it's like, when like if you look at her one loss, Tyler, she lost to Mara Barella, which is someone who I think she is better than. It's just kind of she got UFC jitters. It was her first UFC fight, and she didn't really perform. So I'm like, it kind of puts it into question, like, is it just when she gets those big opportunities that she kind of gets those jitters? So this is another one of those big opportunities. Like, will she feel the same way, and will it play out the same way for her?
Yeah. Gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's so wild, like how much the UFC is just pumping out content. Like we said, like UFC London was past weekend, insane show. Aspinall and Patty the Batty and Meatball Molly was like amazing. It was just so cool. We're not even like the fans are back, and mostly for the fan because now like this weekend coming up, they're in Columbus, Ohio, and like that should be really really cool scene. But for them to go, out of the country and like, man, London, like they brought it. Like, holy shit, they brought that energy into fighting that. I know, and we've talked about in the past, like you kind of sometimes it feels like you like the Apex in a way, and you like nothing going on. It's a sparring match that the ESPN records, and it's like a pretty big deal. But to me, to be in that environment, that's like something that's like extra. That's something special.
There is something about fighting in the Apex, and it takes a lot of pressure off you, and it's almost like it's easier to make the walk. But it also, I feel like, really diminishes the win.
Yeah.
Like, not having that crowd there and that just energy surrounding you, it's not the same. Like, it's 100% not the same to win without the fans. Even just performing, like hearing them cheer, hearing them boo. I remember when I fought in December, I fought in the T-Mobile. So I had a crowd there for that too. And I'm like, the second I got a takedown, they start booing. And I'm thinking, like, you guys booing already? Like, come on. Like, just like little things that it does make a difference. But I think it's just like, I like that. I love having that like interaction with the crowd, even though it's like, it's kind of just in your own head.
And also there's so much other stuff. Like, I think that's probably maybe one of the most like underrated or just like untalked about things. Like, especially when there's a pay-per-view, there's Joe Rogan there. How many fighters, like, remember when Vanessa Demopoulos won like 2 months ago, like, she like went berserk for Joe Rogan. It didn't matter that she won and got a bonus. She was just so fucking literally just happy, beyond ecstatic, just to talk with Joe Rogan for a minute and a half. All like the media part of it, like embedded is there. And then the weigh-ins are totally different. The Apex is very, just tight, and, weigh-ins in, your weigh-ins out, and you're done. Like at T-Mobile, like they do the extra stuff, and it's a big arena. Like there's just so much more to it. And to me, it doesn't, I don't think it elevates the fight, but to me, it just elevates the, spots for moments, and just elevates of like, wow, this is a big deal. Like, I just think it would bring more alertness to the fight in a way, just kind of makes it pop.
And I guess I'm like, there's certain little things like say when I fought Molly, I'm like, the crowd's cheering the whole time. They're like, Molly, Molly. So I'm like, okay, Gillian, you have to do something. You need to show them that she's losing this fight. I'm like, I need to make sure that they know that she doesn't have any like play in this. So the second they started cheering for her, I took her down. I'm like, there's, you got to make sure. I'm like, it definitely does dictate like your thoughts during the fight.
Right. Oh my goodness. Gosh. I love it. All right. Well, I was like more fighting than I thought we were going to talk about the whole episode, but we just went with it. So on social medias, on Fight Bananas Official on Instagram, they put up a dope picture of you, and just about like, hey, people talk, topics, and like, like I said, each episode isn't going to be like, hey, this whole episode is going to be about marijuana, or this whole episode is going to be about your dog Rob, right? Like there's going to be just stories that intertwine with everything. But it was just pretty wild about how much, how many people replied. Of course, there was a lot of social media stuff with anytime I put that up there now, and feet come up multiple times, but I guess that's social media in 2022. But yeah, definitely, I think people are intrigued about the, about your dog and the relationship, and how long, and just seems like, I think it's even on your bio, right? Your bio on your IG is about getting Rob a big backyard. So like, when did that relationship begin, and how did that relationship start? And like, are you, how important, in a weird way is, Rob to you on the daily?
So, before I started training at all, my thing was really like volunteering with animals. Like that's all I did. I started volunteering at the Humane Society when I was 7 years old. Then I started volunteering at a wildlife rescue when I was probably about 10, and then started volunteering at a horse rescue when I was in high school. So it's like my whole like life was just all animals, 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 just trying to work with them, trying to do what I could. So, like growing up, I had 3 dogs and 3 cats, and my mom and dad were definitely not looking for anything else. They didn't want any more pets coming in the house. Like that was the last thing. And I was working at the Humane Society at the time, so Robin was there. And it's funny, it comes up on my Facebook memories. Like if you scroll back, it's like I'm trying to find this dog a home. Like I have so many pictures of him. Like 5 months is too long for any dog at the Humane Society. Come adopt Robin. Like I was trying forever to try to find him a home. Like I just wanted to get him out of the shelter, because I think he ended up being there for almost a year. It was like just under a year. So it was hard to see. And then also it's like, it wasn't a no-kill shelter. So it's like they would have euthanized if he was there for too long. And it's like, that's something obviously I didn't want to see. He's the sweetest dog in the world. So we had like a little garage gym at the time. So I knew my parents wouldn't let me bring Robin home with like my 3 dogs and 3 cats already. So I was like, yeah, we're just going to foster him. He's going to be a gym dog. We're going to just keep him at the gym more than anything. And I'd bring him home at nights and keep him at the gym all day with me. And then I kept on telling my parents, yeah, we're going to find him another home. I'm looking for somebody to adopt him. I'm going to see something. And then my dad actually worked at the Humane Society as well. And he went into a board meeting. And they're like, yeah, it seems we have this dog that's been out in foster for 200 and something days. This seems to be an issue. And my dad's like, nope, that's ours. Like, just kind of claiming it then. So he just kind of worked his way into my life. But there's something special about him. Like I've fostered thousands and thousands and thousands of dogs, but there's nothing like Robin. Like he's got my heart. And I adopted him when he was 6 years old. He's probably about 13 now, but he's just my best friend.
Dude, that's the best. That's the best story ever. It's so fun. I'm like hearing that story. I'm like, dude, I'm like Rob Jr. to you. Like, I was just there for so long. And like, if you didn't take me in as like a podcast like partner, I was just going to like waste away in the wild. And you're like, all right, Dave, come on, let's do it. And let's do commentary. I'm like Rob Jr. Crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, he was just there for so long, and I was trying to find him a home, but it was obvious he already picked me. Like, I was his home. I couldn't do anything about it.
Like, so when he was there for those many, like, did you guys have you guys connected, like, in the shelter, like, oh, right away? It was like, there's no, when you left to go home, like, was Rob, like, upset that you were, like, kind of leaving him? Was that, like, was there a relationship, like a bond super quick?
I feel like initially, I don't know, there wasn't really, like, I worked with hundreds of dogs there every day. Yeah, so it's like, he had a brother actually too. His brother's name was Batman. So it was Batman and Robin.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But Batman was like a couple years younger than him, but looked exactly like him. So like they just came from the same home. I'm assuming they were related somehow. We don't really know a lot of the details. Okay. And Batman got adopted like within like 1 or 2 months of being at the shelter. And then Robin was just left there forever.
Dude, it's just like the movies. Like everyone just gives Batman all the love. You know, Bruce Wayne's the best. And like Robin just
left behind.
Unbelievable. So at Icon too. So Icon, there was like 2 fights too. There was Icon on Friday on UFC Fight Pass. And then on Saturday, they had another thing called Freedom Fights. That was a really, really cool event. And a lot of the same people were around. And I saw Jose Shorty Torres 2 nights in a row, actually 3 days in a row, because he was there for the weigh-ins, helping Uli out a little bit. And then he was there Friday and then there Saturday. And he's like limping around in his cane. It was just it was like just funny just to kind of chit chat with him and talk to him and, you know, everything that he's doing. And I know he just commentated for Titan FC a couple weeks ago. And Lex McMahon was there, and they're going back to the Dominican Republic on the 10th, April 10th. Shout out UFC Fight Pass. I'm telling you, go get that streaming service. It's a really good app. They might have some really good content on there in the future too. And, you know, he's just excited about commentary and stuff. And it's just like, of course, you came up just organically about, you know, you're commentating, starting to a little bit. So I want to kind of really jump into that. Like when was the bug? When was like, okay, I do want to try this? When was like the first time? Because I know you did it once with Titan, right? Once with Jose and Charles down there in South Florida. Was that something like they asked you and you're like, okay, shit, I'll do it? Or was it something you were like, maybe I want to jump in this a little bit and then see where our avenues are at?
I guess a little bit of both.
Okay.
It was definitely something I was interested in from the beginning because obviously, like being a fighter, I know I can't do this forever. Like my body's not gonna hold up forever. I probably got another
Especially your hip.
Yeah, especially my hip. Gosh, I'm like I probably got a good like 10 years tops left in this, you know.
Okay.
So just thinking of like other avenues and things you can get into, and it's like I love to be around the fight game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm like
Yeah.
I would love to stay in this world as much as I could. And to be able to just call fights, I'm like, I feel like that's the coolest thing. Just sit there, watch fights, talk about them, and like, it's what comes naturally to me, being able to talk about fights. I'm like, I feel like I've always had like social anxiety, trouble talking to people. But then if I meet someone who's a jiu-jitsu person, I can talk for days because I'm like, I can talk about fights all day long. It doesn't matter who you are. So it was just kind of, it just came naturally, and I knew that it was something that I wanted to do.
That's crazy. All right. So two more little funny things. And then if we roll, and we'll see where it goes from there. One is, so same kind of thing. Shout out to Icon Fighting Championship. A ton of people were there. And one person I never talked to before, never met before, known her from afar, was Juliana Miller, right? So I see her there for the first time, and she's helping a good friend of ours and the good friend of Fight Bananas. Her name is Sophia. She does jits-jitsu. Oh yeah, you roll with her over there in Pensacola. So I guess Sophia and Juliana's really good friends. So, met her. She was on the Ultimate Fighter show. Can't talk about anything that maybe I heard, but it's a tight lip. I don't know anything. But it was amazing. So again, you came up because she just commentated literally the night before she was there. And she's like, man, it was so awesome. And I love it. She wants to get into it and blah, blah, blah. And your name came up, and I swear, and I don't know, I didn't know your guys' relationship. Of course, talking with Gillian, I never talked to her before. And when I mentioned your name, she got so genuinely happy. And then I thought about it too. So then I talked to Jose. Then of course, Taylor Starlin was there for 2-3 days. I'm talking to her. And then you come up. Every single time your name comes up, people are always so happy to talk about you. They have so many good things to say about you and good memories with you. And I was like, dude, that's it is true. I don't know anyone. I'm not even just saying this to say this. And, we didn't say that I was going to say this off air or shit. It's I don't know anyone that has a bad word to say about you that. I think that's a pretty dope thing to kind of in the fight game. People genuinely like Gillian Robertson.
You're just naming all my favorite people here. That's why.
There's 6.
Yeah. I'm like Juliana and Taylor. I'm like, those are some of my favorite people. Sophia, yeah. I'm like, just people, they're such beautiful souls themselves. I couldn't tell you a person who hates any one of them either. I'm like, true. Taylor is one of the biggest sweethearts. Same with Juliana. I'm like, yeah, the biggest sweethearts in the fight game. So I think it's more who you're naming there.
maybe that has a little bit to deal with it. Yeah, somehow you and I we do the same 30 people, and we kind of stay in tune with those people. It's so I guess that is a little true, but I don't know. It's the fight game that it's hard, and sometimes there's there's more than others. There's a lot of I don't want to say bad eggs, but there's some shit that happens, and there's politicians that politics that kind of happens in the fight game and backstabbing. But it just seems our circles, it's good. There's just nothing but good vibes and smiles and just kind of really positive shit going on.
Oh yeah, I feel even with the girls that I fought, I feel I've been lucky who I've run into. I'm like Hannah Goldie, Molly McCann, yeah. They're all girls who I'm I have built genuine friendships with because we've got to punch each other in the face.
Is there an opponent that through the years didn't go that way? It's still kind of
Veronica Macedo has me blocked.
Okay, there we go.
I'm but we never had any interaction. We never talked shit previous to the fight. We fought. I choked her out, and then she blocked me. So that's about it.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That is so good. All right, that's all. All right, we'll end it with this. I kind of have a fun question for you. Didn't ask you beforehand, so that makes it super fun. Oh, what is kind of one thing, maybe the one thing that through the years, through podcasts and on other shows or interviews or shit at media days at UFC, all this stuff, what's one little tidbit about you that people really don't know about you, or people maybe don't think this about, and it doesn't have to be very, it could be something so like, ridiculous, but what is like something that, maybe through this show and through this podcast and kind of you running it and doing your thing, like what's something that you're like, okay, like, hey, if I'm a big fan of, alligators, like, hey, we're going to like talk about alligators. What's like something that people maybe not know about the Savage?
I feel like there's a lot that people don't know. I feel like most podcasts that you go to, it's always like the typical general questions. You're always going like fight stuff or like weed stuff or my dog. And it's like, there's so much more, like there is more. Alligators are dope for one thing. I took Rob to a park specifically yesterday because I know that there's a lot of alligators there, so I could walk around and look at them. But yeah, there's so much I feel like about me that I've never really disclosed, or it's like there is like a huge like socially awkward side to me where I feel like I'm fairly good at hiding, and a lot of anxiety that I feel like is something that could help people even. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of sides to me that people don't really know about yet.
I like it. I can't wait to start, peeling the onion of Gillian the Savage Robertson. But yeah, no, I'm excited. This is kind of like the pilot episode, episode 1. I think, a company might sign us for like 500 episodes. So this might be something that we do a lot. I would assume like, yeah, we never said this too. I would assume we'll have guests on sooner or later if it's, friends of yours, friends of mine, people in the BJJ community, people in the UFC community, maybe some awesome people on UFC Fight Pass, because it is such a good streaming service. Do you have UFC Fight Pass, Gillian?
Oh, of course. I have UFC Fight Pass. They have so many different options and so many great podcasts. So yeah, check them out.
Yeah, it's such a good streaming service. Great deal too. The best, but dollar you spend all month. It's the best.
Yeah, I definitely invest in UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Very cool. I think we nailed it. I think we did it. Well, I'm super excited. This is something, you and I kind of talked about for a little bit, like something that we might do. And it just really came to fruition over the last couple of weeks. And then, like I said, we got really cool stuff, really big news to talk about in the future. But pumped, excited. I'm happy that you're back, and we'll hopefully have other news for you in the future as well. And man, we gotta get back to the commentary. I was devastated when I was told that event was off. I was like, devastated.
Oh, me too. No, I was so excited to be able to commentate with you this weekend, and then wasn't in the stars.
Wasn't in the stars. Next time. But all right, well, there we go. I think that was episode 1. Mic Cuddles, the star, joined the Savage Robertson. I might pop in every now and then. Yeah, Mic Cuddles. We got to get you like a mic there somehow. So like, yeah, we'll have funny segments. Like, I love it. But very cool. All right, we are absolutely out. We'll talk to you guys later.